Do you think, I'm assuming, LGBT community and the black church can coexist?
Absolutely.
Let me push that question, because...
Hello? I once had Diddy text me, "Welcome to the family," but I was by a platinum-selling producer who was one of his cohorts.
T.D. Jakes throwing light on rumors concerning his and his son's claimed involvement in a gay lifestyle. The story goes into assertions that Sarita Jakes, T.D. Jakes' wife, has known about his purported sexual orientation for a long time. As we look into these emerging developments based on several social media sources, stay tuned. Concerns have been raised concerning T.D. Jakes' relationship to musician Sean Combs, also known as Puff Daddy or Diddy. Diddy is presently dealing with legal action from Cassie Ventura, who ended their 11-year relationship in 2018. Cassie claims Diddy repeatedly assaulted her physically and sexually. In the midst of the dispute, Cassie has brought Bishop T.D. Jakes to light with her strong proof. The allegation complicates matters by implying that the bishop was present at Diddy's events where same-gender intimate acts took place. A young man from the Potter household is claiming that he was sexually abused as a child by his former pastor. The married bishop is also said to have expressed a greater interest in men than in women. Not only is Bishop Jakes said to have this tendency, but so are his two eldest sons. In a recent episode of podcast, a former associate of T.D. Jakes and her two sons, the colleague asserted that Sarita knew T.D. Jakes was gay before they were married, implying that she joined him in order to hide his sexual orientation. This choice was allegedly made without hesitation and is credited to T.D. Jakes for accepting Sarita and treating her kids like his own, forging a close relationship that apparently resulted in Sarita's steadfast allegiance. Listen to the relevant episode of the podcast to learn more about these developments. Please listen to the entire audio file because the most startling information is at the very conclusion.
Anything I share here, I'm not worried about being sued. And just to be sure that anyone listening understands that, I will be giving the first initial of names, okay? There are people talking who are just sharing rumors, but not all of us are sharing rumors, okay? I had a mentor from 1999 to 2000. She was my mentor. Mr. R, okay? His first name started with an R. So Mr. R used to be a boarder in her home. Now, my mentor told me Mr. R is gay, and his wife knows he's gay. Mr. R was a part of the ministerial staff. He became a minister, and he was very close to T.D. Jakes, okay? And she said he told her that, he was going to share some things with her that she could never tell anybody. And so later on, she tells me and a few other people that he did come. They had set up a time and date for him to come to her house. He came and he talked with her for several hours, just divulging stuff, behind the scenes ministry stuff. And she told us some things I can never tell y'all, but what he did tell her was that T.D. Jakes was gay and that T.D. Jakes had a relationship with a man. Now, I will stop and say, whether that man was Mr. R, I don't know, because she never told us that. But then she told us there are things I can never say, I can never tell, because I swore, that I wouldn't tell, some of the stuff that he told me. I'll tell you, as soon as they got through talking, she left that church. My mentor did, and it devastated her. Not too long after the things that Mr. R shared with her and swore her to secrecy to, she had a stroke. I always believed, and I still believe it now, that it was the stuff he told her that contributed to her having that stroke, because the timeline was just too close. The Jakes have 5 children. Boys, both of their names start with a J. One is light-skinned, one is dark-skinned. It is true that the 2 older sons are gay. The 2 older sons are not his biologically. They're not the sons of Jakes. Now, the sons, one is darker-skinned. The darker-skinned son is the one who was caught in Keith's Park many years ago. Now, those 2 sons, they are not the biological children of Thomas, okay? Before, Sarita was a teen mom, okay? She had both of the boys when she was a young woman. And sometime later, I don't know if it was years, I don't know the time frame of between her having and her meeting Thomas. That part of their story, I don't know. But one of the great things that made her fall in love with Thomas was that he accepted her 2 boys. And yes, he did later adopt them. So he's the man that raised them, because I don't know anything about their biological father, y'all. I don't know who he is. That's the part I can't say. My mentor told me, and I'll never forget this, there was a time when the Jakes lived near what is not White Rock Lake in Dallas. Okay, they had a home. They used to have a home over there. And she told me her friend was part of this group of people that had gone to the house. But I don't know how many sessions they had, but this was a time, as I said earlier, where people kind of saw homosexuality differently, especially in the church. And so they believed that it was an evil spirit and it could be cast out. And so she was telling me that the friend had said that they had had a few sessions at the Jakes' home where they were trying to cast the devil out of these 2 boys. And I remember, I'll never forget, she said to me, she said, and they said every time they would get to a point where they thought they were going to cast him out, Jakes would leave the room. Why? I don't know. What he was leaving the room for, I don't know. When all this stuff comes out over the next days and weeks about Thomas, T.D. Jakes, which stands for Thomas Dexter, for those who may not know, I don't want to assume everyone knows what that stands for. I want all of you to understand that Sarita was a part of the cover-up. So very often when things come out about these husbands, the wives, the wives get to play innocent. People assume they're innocent, kind of like the Vanessa Long, Eddie Long situation. People assume they're innocent. The wife kind of skates off and people look at her like, "Aw," but that's never the case. It's never the case. When women like Sarita go along, participate in, when I say participating, I don't mean necessarily the act, I just mean go along with the cover-up and pretending that it's not what it is. That's what makes these things go on for years and years and years, because as women we have power, and when we leave a man, people know something's up. What I'm saying is, when it all comes out, I don't want anyone to be like, "Oh, poor Sarita." No, it's not going to be poor Sarita. Sarita, people have gotten information back to Sarita for years about her husband. But there came a time when certain things were getting back to her, and then he took over her email. Listen, Thomas buys Sarita's clothes. He's always bought her clothes. And so you got to understand the kind of state Sarita was in when she met Thomas. What would she have done if she left him? She didn't have nothing. She had nothing. She came from nothing. She was a coal miner's daughter. When I say she came from nothing, I don't mean she as a person isn't valuable. What I'm saying is she didn't come from prestige or money or anything like that. She was a poor girl who had come from upside a mountain in West Virginia. And it was because of him that, she is and has all that she does. So I don't know. I'm not trying to get into her mind and understand why she stayed, why she was okay with him having these extramarital relationships. I don't know. All I know is I'm not even sure if she would have ever had anything had it not been for him. And so maybe she felt some sort of devotion to him because of that. I don't know. And he did take her 2 sons that she had out of wedlock. Again, not a shaming statement. I'm just saying that because that's the phrase we used to use. And he raised them. I won't be shocked by anything that comes out, but I do know a lot of people are. And I just hope that they don't put it in the lap of God. God doesn't have anything to do with these folks' messes and schemes and sleeping around and whoremongering. He has nothing to do with it. You have to understand, it wasn't God allowing, it was us allowing. These rumors have been out for years. How come the church never held him accountable? Maybe he would have sat down years ago.
Though there have been reports on social media calling T. Jakes a power bottom, his wife is a steadfast supporter of him. T.D. Jakes made a social media post shortly after reports of her alleged Hollywood scandal broke, implying that difficulties are a part of God's design to make people stronger. She underlined Bishop Jakes' declaration that 2024 will be the year of purification, speaking prosperity into weak areas, and overcoming obstacles with the assurance that God's strength will bring about victory. A damaged reputation was attached to P. Diddy's supposed Hollywood controversy for T.D. Jakes. Jakes became a social media fad amid outrageous claims that he attended the music mogul's party. In a YouTube church service, He addressed the accusations, vehemently refuting them and declaring his belief in their untruth. Refusing to confront lies from the holy pulpit, he pledged to address everything at the appropriate moment. In spite of internet speculation, a T.D. Jakes representative declared in a statement that the allegations were categorically untrue and unfounded. The statement highlighted the difficulty in disseminating the truth as opposed to lies, citing Pastor Charles Diddy as being accused of sexual assault following Cassie's lawsuit settlement the following day. The claims included the drugging and beating of a college student in 1991, instances akin to those involving Aaron Hall, and the sex enslavement of a 17-year-old. Diddy resigned as chairman of Revolt Network and angrily denied any wrongdoing. Diddy responded to the incident by claiming he would stand up for his family, his name, and the truth, and denouncing the claims as an attempt to damage his reputation. Social media users' thoughts on the subject were divided. Some expressed doubt about the accusations, while others demanded responsibility. This seems familiar, but it was recently. R. Kelly was acting in the same way toward us. Despite his claims of innocence, he was ultimately found guilty. Like most people, let's just sit back and watch what happens. I sincerely hope that this is untrue. As a pastor, I say that when we hang around dirt, we get dirty, added a different person. Scripture was originally taught and advised to lead separate lives by the church. Diddy has not yet visited the church. Bishop is spotted at several gatherings and at his home. There are a lot of infants in the body, and it is our duty to safeguard them from confusion. He ought to insist Diddy make a public statement. We owe it to one another to uphold the gospel in our way of life. Express your desires. Accountability is required. He declares, "I know who I am." The issue is that this kind of smearing of innocent blood is unnecessary. Embarrassment and pride are inherent in the church's name. "I'm just going to wait and watch for the receipts," said a different user. Everything in the bucket always rises to the top of the well. The audio evidence makes a solid case for the gradual disclosure of Jake Harber's many secrets in the upcoming days. In any case, I sincerely hope you liked viewing this movie and that every one of us will keep trying to please God. To ensure you receive notifications, kindly remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell.